I'll do another one after his. But by then, DaUnTiNg and other people will be going live, so maybe not. Okay. Let me let the mama kitty in. 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Everybody! Salama, Shannon, TrUe, Madness, Undercover, Salvador, Sweet Misery, Aussie True Crime, hi! I did an Australian one yesterday. Lulu's from Australia, as you know, and she asked me to do an Australian one, so that was yesterday. At the Backpackers, right in the loft. Hi, Lloyd Boston, Mark Klein, Deb E, Donna McCain, Super Kendall, Third Plane from the Sun. Thank you, everybody, for coming over. How nice. People give it to us. Alright, so today, because Kylie, is it Goug? G-O-U-G, it's in the chat now and then. She's from New Zealand. I know music's playing. I know you can kind of hear me. Okay, sweetest voice on YouTube. Do I have that? If I have that, that's very nice. Thank you. I'm assuming you're talking to me. Maybe not. Whoops. Let's get this to stop before it starts again. No, no, no. There we go. Oh, God. Hi, you guys. You can hear me over the fan, right? I got the fan on low. Oh. Hi, everybody. Hi, Aqua Pisces. Hi, everybody. Yay. What? Did the Bigfoot originate here in Washington? Didn't it? Or Oregon or something? Didn't they say that was the first spot it was seen? Oh, listen to the babies. Listen to that. Oh my God, you guys. They were under my covers, and I kind of thought they'd be on the floor, right along my mattress where they usually go under the comfort part. No, all three of them are under my regular blankets. They're lucky I didn't sit my ass down on one of them. But what I did, looking for him and leaning over, is my knee went on the little black one. I heard a, and God, I pulled it off. He was all scared and upset, trying to scurry away from me under the cover. I got him. I held him. I pet him a little. I mean, I'm just like, there was no bump. I didn't see a bump because they're still so small. So now I have to be even like more careful when I crawl into bed at night and then what about this? What if I'm asleep? They crawl under the covers next to me and I roll over something on them in the middle of the night and squish one and I don't even know because I'm like asleep. Like I'm kind of worried. I don't know. They're all nibbling on dry now. Okay. So yeah, what else is going on? It's a wonderful Saturday night. Is it Saturday? Isn't it Monday? Wait, what day is it? It's Monday, Lloyd. Are you being funny or did you think it was Saturday? I can't keep my days very straight. There's Lulu. Ice fishing is fun though, says Mark. I hate winter for the most part. I miss the snow, you know. I was born in South Dakota. I grew up there. We were in blizzards. We were in things called the 2-minute eyeball, where if you're out in it more than 2 minutes, your eyeballs freeze. That's really dang cold. 40 and 50 degrees below zero. Like it's outrageous. And then I moved to live with my mother when I was 14 and I was in Vermont, where there's lots of snow and stuff. Hi, Moto Mom, Mary Jane Doe. Hi, everybody. Mama's the boss. Thanks, everybody, for coming over. Hi, Joni. Hi, everybody. So, but the last 3 years here, on Christmas Day, in the morning usually, and then sometimes it'll be gone, it'll dissipate and it'll rain, we'll have snow on Christmas. And then we might get a whole bunch more in March. Really weird. The weather here is weird. The weather here is predictable because you can predict an unpredictability. That's what I say. All right. So anyway, because Kylie is in here now and then, I don't know if she is now, and she's from New Zealand, I thought, wow, I'll do a New Zealand crime story. Yesterday I did the Ivan Milat. Lulu, I got your I saw your message in chat, or no, in comments, and I responded back, I'm pretty sure. Hopefully I did it justice. I didn't get my channel taken down, but I got What did I get? It said a violation of copyright. And I don't really know, you guys, if if that's a warning. I just don't know. Now I went to YouTube Studio to get the details, and in all honesty, there weren't any. And but I talked to Matt today, and he said that if I play these videos of other people's, like I like to play the what is it, BuzzFeed? What is it called now, you guys? This is what I can't stand. BuzzFeed. Well, I don't know. BuzzFeed something, and they have millions of subscribers, and they're funny. They're good together. They're trying to make light of horrible crime, you know. But he said if I play it and then kind of stop it and comment, play a little more and comment, that's okay. For once I have hot coffee, you guys. All right, so that's what I'll do. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and read this. Oops, my pen just went flying. Okay, copyright disclaimer. I guess I can read it. He said as long as it's somewhere in the live. So under section 107, what are you doing, silly? Here, you want to come up here? There you go. Under section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Copyright disclaimer. Okay, then, I guess we're done with that. Hi, everybody. Hi, Undercover Mermaid. Hi, everyone. Okie Crime News. Hi. Oh, I'm happy to see you here, too. I tried to find your friend request, even under Teresa Holder, like you put in chat, so I don't think I'm doxing you. I couldn't find it. Now, a whole bunch of Teresa Holders came up, but I couldn't see any with your little pink avatar thing that says Teresa on it or anything. And I didn't want a friend request just any Teresa Holder out there. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and type in my email. I've done this on Jimmy's. So far, I haven't gotten any, weird emails. I'm not really worried about it. So, Okie Crime News. I'm going to type it in and then just email me on there. All right. I check my email every day. Yeah, and then we'll have to figure out like the time difference. Of me going up on your panel. Shoot. There we go. When it'll work for both of us. Okay, here's my email. Is the volume good, you guys? Hi, I call BS. Oh, how are you? I haven't seen you in a long time. Hi, Sam's Rock Collection. Hi, Barbara Thompson. Hi, Steph V. Oh, an error occurred on YouTube. This is usually temporary. Wait a moment, then try again. Well, I can kind of see my email. Can you see it faintly on there? It's Megan, MEGAN, _ KYCEK, my last name, married name, but I'd like to get it changed back to Michael someday. That's my maiden name. At yahoo.com. Hi, Team Rose. Hi, everybody. I know it's been a while. Yeah, I wasn't planning on getting my own channel. You can ask Team Rose. She was like, get a channel, get a channel. No way, no way. I've been through enough, you know. But the kittens were born by what I thought was a male kitty. That's the God honest truth. Thought he was a boy the whole time. I was kind of wondering why I was seeing teats, whatever they're called. I said tits once on here and someone got offended, so I don't know. And then out of the blue, like we didn't hear him. She didn't look pregnant. I thought she was just eating. I thought it was a he eating too much dry, getting a little belly, small belly. She had 3 kittens behind the couch. And then, right, and I'm like, wow, I want to film the kitties. I wasn't even going to StreamYard. I was just going to film them, right? And then post it. And then Suzanne Morphew was found, or her remains. And I was like, holy crap. I've got to talk about this. Like I was just dying to talk about it. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure this out. Hi, Rhonda. I'm just going to say Rhonda because my words can't. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I just got a cat for the first time in my life and we're literally attached. Oh, I love cats. They're a little easier to take care of, you know, than puppies and dogs, but I love dogs too. You know, I used to walk a pug dog that was overweight. He just loved me. He could sense when I was coming, like I'd be, well, this is what Monique told me. She was, you know, older. He could sense when I was coming over. He always knew I was going to take him to the AA hall and he'd get, excuse me, all this attention. And then during like the potlucks, the holiday potlucks and otherwise, he came every day with me. He'd get pieces of turkey and I try not to give him too much stuff, you know. But now I got to get my charger. Um, yeah, so the kittens are liking to chew, right, on my things. There we go. I was down to 9% there, and I'm 97% on the other one, so I'm fine. Yeah, well, happy you're here, and everyone else. Hi, Mirandy. If I missed a name, don't be offended. Please hit the like. And you guys, I'm only going live until 7. You know, when you're looking at yourself all the time in this thing, it's very weird. Okay, so 23 minutes already. So I have an hour and 7 minutes. And if Jimmy isn't live, you know, Dolly Vision and you know, Dumplin and Tattooed Rebel and Becca and stuff, then I mean sometimes I go live when they're on and sometimes I start earlier and then I don't want to end. But I don't want to go live right when my friends are going. Plus I'm a mod on a lot of these channels, you know. Hi, Michael Blade. Hi, everybody. Thank you. You're really having a good hair day. I kind of am. It's, I don't shampoo it a lot. I'm being honest because I don't want to lose the red. And so I braided it that other day, remember? And when I took it out, it was kind of frizzy, but now it's layering and hanging a little nicer. Because when you have long hair, I color my own hair. It's a pain in the ass. I got to put Vaseline on my ears and all the way down here and on my neck. You know what I mean? And towels on the kitchen floor, you know, because stuff splatters and yeah, you know, and I do my eyebrows. And then as that comes out, I'm not supposed to, right? They say you can go blind, but it's whatever. So I do my eyebrows and then I add a little orangey pencil later on when that fades out. Okay, then. Thank you, Mark. All right. So So anyway, yesterday was the Aussie Ivan Milat, and I'll do another Australian crime for sure. It's just today I thought I would try New Zealand. Um, I used to watch, like Team Rose, I think, said in here in yesterday's chat, because I watch back my lives and then I can read the chat. And there's quite a bit I miss, like comments. So I'm kind of glad I do that. Yeah, so New Zealand, frankly, I think it's a crime they let those people, knowing white white volcano, what was it called again? White something could explode like any moment. And I think it was 2 months before it was erupting some. But yet they let these people, granted you have to sign a disclaimer, not a disclaimer, whatever safety thing to get on this boat to go over to this island. These people are walking around the darn top and exploded. I mean, they were right there next to the crater when it went off. White. Yeah, I remember Team Rose seeing your hair colored in, it was kind of this color, maybe a little lighter, back in the, hi, LBI 228, waiver. See, I need your help, you guys, with words. And when I say, how do you pronounce this and what, I'm not joking. Hi, Aaron Eberhard. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jean Warren. Okay, so instead of looking up something grisly, I'm going to cover this, you guys. Put a 1 in chat if you heard about it. Shoot. Kylie told me the name of the volcano. Anyway, there, okay. I know, Sweet Misery, you haven't heard about it. You said that the other day. You will be shocked when you see this. So, and the fact that, okay, there it is, White Island. Okay, the island is called White Island. And fiddlesticks. Okay, there we go. All right, it erupted. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, it's so weird to see the victims. It's so weird. Here's just a few of the victims. I'm just going to show them first really quickly. See? Husband and wife there. There's some people, right, on another boat. They were on their way over there to even get off, you guys, and walk around. Or actually, this boat was the one that was there. The people already walked around the top of it, were on the boat leaving, and it exploded. Okay, and then these are 2 boys. They were from Australia. These brothers died. It's, okay, here we go. It's a lot to cover, so I'm going to cover it, and then okay, here we go.
Some walking right into the crater. Many of them never made it out. Take a look at these dramatic images.
See how scared they are in the other boat?
The terror and chaos of having to race onto a boat and escape for your life. The volcano on White Island erupted several times while the tourists were there. 5 people are confirmed dead. 8 people are still missing. there doesn't appear to be much hope of finding them alive.
Look at all that smoke.
Rescuers aren't even able to get near the island right now because it's too dangerous. The Prime Minister of New Zealand spoke a short time ago.
The consensus here is that the focus has to be on those at this time who are critically injured.
2019.
And of course, what is very sadly a recovery operation. Of those questions that people undoubtedly will have, the context would simply provide is that my understanding is that tourism operations have been undertaken there for several decades, up to 30 years. It has been a live volcano throughout that time. At various times has been able to, but it is a very unpredictable volcano. There will be questions that will be asked and do need to be answered by the appropriate authorities. We'll be ensuring that that happens. But for now, we're focused on those who are caught up in this horrific event.
Well, meteorologist Tom Sater joins me now with more. So the Prime Minister of New Zealand said this is an active volcano. So how risky was it to actually be on that island? Because if it had been a tourist destination for that long, people have been visiting that place for a while now.
Yeah, tourist companies, we believe, Holland, take about 10,000 tourists to the volcano every year. But we're going to go through some of the questions they're going to be asking that the Prime Minister is bringing up. 48 kilometers off the coast of the North Island, the Bay of Plenty. This volcano, 70% of it is underwater, making it the largest volcano in all of New Zealand. But you can see where past eruptions have, kind of collapsed side of this, what we call a cone volcano. You just never know with these things, even though their tremors have been picked up in the last week.
See,
satellite imagery
tremors.
actually will show the plume here.
Hi, Sean B.
Getting up to about 12,000
Hi,
feet in
Destiny.
elevation. But here are the questions. We found a report that was issued just 1 week ago, and it comes from GeoNet, of course, of New Zealand, monitoring the situation. And it states, moderate volcanic unrest continues. Substantial gas, steam, mud bursts, and
Look
in
at
fact,
that.
goes on to say mud bursts 20 to 30 meters in the air. This activity has been present since late September, becoming more frequent. Maybe entering a period where eruptive activity is more likely than normal. So that begs the question, why allow the tourists to get there to begin with? Now, at one time, briefly, we're at a 3, a minor eruption. It did jump to a 4 during that activity, but it's back down. And I know everyone's trying to keep up hope for any survivors, but this toxic gas in these smoke plumes is just so high in intensity. Not to mention, of course, the temperatures, the water on there is acidic and probably boiling. I mean, we're trying to keep all hope out, but no one knows if it'll erupt again. You just have to hope that all that energy trapped underneath has been released. Wave heights for rescuers, 1 to 5 meters. So
it's a crime they were allowed to go there. So I wasn't even planning on doing this. I wasn't. I was going to do a different thing, but commercial.
Professor Arkulis, welcome.
Let's listen to this
tragedy has occurred on this
professor.
island volcano in the last 24 hours. What can you tell us about White Island?
Well, it's a spectacular place to visit. It's also scientifically fascinating. It's relatively accessible. And it's a wonderful example of a volcano where
yes,
a
trigger
magmatic
warning.
system, the sort of thing everybody
Lord.
associates with volcanoes, is interacting with a water system. The groundwater is made up of rainfall and seawater. And occasionally when that interacts with rising magma or ponded magma in the crust, you can get a lot of trouble.
See, a lot of those people right there, you guys, are burned.
Subject to many studies.
They were covered with hot ash.
So there's great interest just from a scenic point of view that you're allowed to get into the throat of what is an active volcano, and also scientifically, and that's what attracts many people to the island.
So talk us through about what you expect led to this eruption yesterday.
Well, one of my volcanological colleagues told me this morning, yes, it's like a giant pressure cooker where the safety valve is blocked off and eventually the seal ruptures with increased pressure and it goes bang. And it wasn't giving off the usual signs that people associate with impending eruptions. Volcanologists have got very good at predicting major eruptive sequences, such as earthquakes below the volcano, which can track magma
walking
rising
around,
its way to the surface. Essentially a
sightseeing.
natural fracking process, or the inflation of the volcano as the
Can you
magma
imagine?
rises up further and pushes the crust of the earth upwards, or changes in gas emissions. All of that stuff The volcano has monitors and regular visits, so people can track that behavior very well. But when you've got a magma resident in the crust at fairly shallow levels interacting with groundwater, a whole series of other reactions and processes take place. And it looks like, certainly from this distance, that the failure of the
exactly,
crust
Mark.
allowed some of that water to access the magma more
They
directly.
make a lot of money.
In that case, you
too.
get flashing of the water into
I
steam.
think many families
expansion in
sued
volume,
something.
and if the,
What I don't know. I followed it
the
for
magma water
a month.
system in place fails, then an explosion results. And all of that kind of process can take place with very little warning indeed.
And Richard, had you been to the island yourself a couple of times?
Yep.
And
when it
what
erupted,
can
it
you
was
tell
open
from
to
the
tourists.
pictures
That's
you've
why
seen
this
about
is
the
a
nature of
crime
this
to me.
explosion? Does it appear the eruption has pushed from the crater directly towards the jetty area?
Now
And if
that's
you've been
someone
there
coming
before,
in, a
if
burn
you're
victim,
familiar
right
with it,
there.
can you tell us that about the history of
Because
that?
I
Has
remember
the
these
crater
yellow,
previously been,
I think,
broken
yellow
away, and
helicopters.
whenever it erupts, it pushes material down a particular path.
Well, it can do, and in the case of White Island, the pictures you'll have seen taken from the air show a breached crater. It's breached off to the east.
Yeah.
So in the past, that side of the volcano has failed. In the case of an explosion coming out of a hole in the ground, typically a lot of that energy is transferred straight up into the air. So the
Hi,
ash
Cindy
column, for
Smith.
example, that resulted. Oh, and by the way, when you look at the images, you see both white and black in that eruption cloud. The black is fragmented rock. The white is probably mostly steam. But most of it goes up into the air, fortunately. If all that energy was directed at you, it'd be terrible. But when you get an explosion just broaching the surface of the Earth, you also get an explosion traveling laterally, a so-called lateral blast. So if you were anywhere between the crater lake at the west end of that crater and the jetty, it's likely that the blast, as it came out of the ground, would not only be traveling vertically but also ground hugging. So it's not easy to avoid. It's not easy to avoid that. We see these kind of things, by the way. The classic, they're called base surges. They're associated with nuclear detonations underwater. And you see typically those kind of experiments have been run in the past.
That boat
when the
right there
blast goes off, yeah, sure, a lot of it goes up in the air.
went
and some of
back
it
and
comes
rescued
scooting
some of
across
those
the
people
water
on the
straight at
dock.
you as the blast wave has
I'll
broached
tell
the
you
sea
more about
surface
it
and
in a
headed
minute.
out laterally. So probably within that crater, it would have been a terrible place to be. There would be nowhere safe for you to be hiding, thinking that, oh, well, if it explodes, it just goes straight up in the air.
Yeah. And have you been there before, and have you walked up that path from the jetty to the crater?
Yes, I've been there many times, actually, and taken that same trip and gone and stood on the wall of the crater lake, and with some care because it's not stable. And if you fell in, you'd be falling into boiling water. So, yes, it's a trip that many tourists take, either having arrived by boat or by helicopter.
And there's an image that's been published widely showing some people down what appears to be inside the crater. I'm not familiar with the term, so maybe you can help us here. But they seem to be inside the crater. Are you aware of those photos? There's an image. It was taken at, I think it was 2:10, and the explosion happened at 2:11. Can you describe where those people would have been at the time?
Yeah, there's a track that takes you in a kind of circular tour from the jetty around on the floor of the crater and around some of the base where the walls meet the crater floor. It's hummocky terrain, nothing too strenuous, and the path basically ends up at the edge of the crater lake, and then you'd return down the other side of the crater. So those people were approaching the edge of the crater lake, totally exposed. If that was where the failure and the explosion was sourced from, a very exposed place to be.
Yeah. And so you say they would have been approaching the crater lake. What would you describe the place that they were at the time? Were they actually inside the crater?
2019.
Yes. Yeah. You can go around on the outside on the crest of the crater, and that's where some of that footage, for example, is a webcam.
Yeah.
The crater is under continuous surveillance with a camera or two. But generally the tourists don't go wandering around the outside of the volcano or around the rim. So you're in the floor of the crater.
Yeah. And so does it appear the eruption happened like that? The top of that crater has actually blown?
That's previously blown. The major topography is due to a much bigger explosion and collapse of a cone. So it would have been a nice symmetrical cone, and it's failed, and all that debris has gone out eastwards. So what you're seeing now is a rebuilding of the structure of the volcano in terms of new deposits of lava and ash, and eventually it might restore itself to be a cone. But what you're looking at is a topography that's been made before anybody got there to witness it by a failure of the volcanic
Oh,
slopes.
that's
And
interesting.
so what do you know
Lulu.
about the heightened activity in the past 2 weeks? We heard in that media conference, the main media conference, the first one yesterday afternoon, an expert describing that the alert level had been raised, and because of heightened activity, I think he mentioned sulfur readings and one other thing.
Yes, for the last 2 months, actually, the Geological and Nuclear Sciences group in New Zealand,
Right here,
they're
Rhonda.
responsible for monitoring all of the all the volcanoes in New Zealand, including the ones on land heading south towards Ruapehu and White Island itself. And they've been reporting increased gas release, sulfur dioxide in particular, a greater activity in the lake, more boiling, more stuff getting thrown out, more mud pot type activity. So all of that is kind of a standard set of characteristics that the volcano experts monitor. But the rapid escalation, instead of some, for example, minor puffs of ash and blocks being thrown out of the vent, where you might think, yeah, okay, this is going to get worse before it gets better, it ended up with this eruption reaching 4,000 meters or so in the air. So there was no 50-meter jets, 100, 500-meter jets that allowed everybody plenty of warning to get out of the way. It was just a single event that became very energetic indeed compared to the way it's been behaving in the last 2 months.
Yeah, so 2 volcanologists who are responsible for this alert level, this came as a surprise
There's a
as well.
victim.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You'd be rest assured that if they had any inkling whatsoever, they'd have raised the alert level to much higher. And that would have been a warning to all the tour operators not to get close to it.
They said
And
half
so
of this.
what else would have to have happened for it to get to a higher level of alert?
Half of the
Because
volcano was
it
underwater.
at 2, I think.
Yeah, so well, some injections of material. So some of that black dust and steam that you see going up in the big column yesterday afternoon, some smaller scale versions of that, or increased seismic activity, or more changes in the way the lake was behaving, such as, for example, a major blowout of the lake and a flood on the crater floor. That would have triggered a higher alert.
They're covering
As
the
someone
body with
yourself
the.
who's very keen to get a close look at volcanoes, what do you think this will lead to in terms of a possible rethink about tour operations on and around volcanoes, and in fact, scientists getting close into volcanoes?
Well, scientists, of course, will probably think they're so smart they should go anyway. Tourists, though, is a different matter, and I'm sure there'll be a close examination of the hazards to tourists. This is a very difficult period for everybody to deal with. I mean, nobody runs tours to places where they think anybody's going to be harmed. But there's an attraction to this, of course. It's climbing Stromboli or in the Mediterranean, or Yasser volcano. It's a kind of holiday thing, a glamour sport, a semi-dangerous activity. So it's hard to prevent this happening. But yes, it'll trigger some thinking about volcano tourism and intrinsic risks.
And a rethink about what prompts a warning, what prompts an increase in the alert level.
Yes, well, we always learn from these. It's a sad case that post facto, we always learn from these events. For example, the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980, that was an ice cone, and the north side of the volcano started bulging at centimeters per day. And that certainly would have been a warning that the thing was about to blow out. In that case, perhaps that's what you were alluding to earlier. That was a lateral blast. The volcano collapsed on its north side, and the blast came out following that slope failure. But we always learn from all of these events. It's only 100 years or more that volcanologists have been examining volcanoes around the world. And the experiences, the individual behaviors of them are always instructive and will inform us for the future.
Yeah. Okay, Richard Arcoulis, it's really interesting talking to you. Thanks for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
That boat right there, where people were filming it and going, oh my God, excuse me. It actually went back up because a lady was talking about it. She was an EMT. And she said this. She turned her camera off and all of that. The screaming was just unbelievable. Trigger warnings. People's skin was like melted off. Their clothes were melted off. She did whatever she could. She got wet cloths, kept putting them on the body, until it got to shore. Can you imagine how scary that would be? And even to be on the boat and then go up to shore. Like, I'd want to, well, you got to help people, right? But I'd want to get as far away from Dodge as I could. Like, because I'd be thinking, what if it blows again or something? But, and I think there were, what, you guys, 15 or 22 or 35? See, I just can't remember people on that tourist boat. And they had all walked around the top of it, got down to the dock, got on their boat, and were heading back, and the thing blew. Yeah. Hi, stars above. Hi, everybody. Yeah, Aussie True Crime remembers this. 1980 was embarrassing. Okay. If I talk a little bit in between these things, maybe even the news, I don't think I'll get in trouble. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so now a lot of people were upset with the big ship, not Norwegian necessarily, but whatever, the cruise companies. They were the ones that offered this. They were the ones that, okay, get off here and put a check in this box if you want to visit. And they kind of felt like, you know, all right, I'm going to show this one now.
Each year, Amazon awards 400 students with a $40,000 computer science scholarship.
Good evening. It was always expected to be risky, but with the threat of another eruption and toxic gases, a team of military operatives has braved New Zealand's White Island. Their time-based mission was to find the missing, and tonight, some Australians are closer to coming home.
A cry out to sea for the broken-hearted.
Those are the parents on that boat.
Of the lost and missing on a slow daybreak procession as New Zealand
Or
mourned
family.
alongside them.
It acknowledges what's happening at this time with the grief and loss.
The Māori blessing sang them back to shore. Relatives had come face to face with the island where the bodies of their loved ones still lay.
It was just magical. It was really, truly something special.
Families had waited in Whakatane. After 4 long days at dawn, the recovery operation for the final 8 bodies began.
Yeah, due to weather.
Military choppers honing in on the volatile island with an 8-man NZDF bomb squad on board. We're on the east side of White Island right now. From here you can see 2 choppers. They're weaving in and out of that huge cloud that's still spilling from the volcano. Recovery teams are on the ground right now. They are having some trouble. Their protective gear is very heavy. It makes things slower than expected, and they're having difficulty accessing some of the bodies. In the line of duty and the line of fire too, there was a chance White Island would erupt again. For 4 hours, they searched, fitted in protective hazmat suits.
That.
The island covered in thick ash and mud. The air around them filled with toxic gas.
So although the best science, best information available was used to try and make sure that we looked after them, there was, of course, a huge amount of courage still required to do what they did today.
Then the news families had been waiting for. 6 bodies were recovered, carefully ferried to a Navy ship and transferred back to shore for identification. Most of them thought to be Australian.
We had been advised by authorities that that is expected to be the case, yes.
They've got their loved ones coming home, and to be able to take them back to Australia.
Hi, the bridge burner.
If that was your son or your daughter or my son or my daughter, what would we be thinking?
But the mission wasn't over.
We will continue to put every effort into locating the remaining 2 missing people.
Police divers searching for the final victims this afternoon. One could be in the water just off the island.
Yeah.
While some families still don't have news, others have already received the worst. Karen Griffith's son died from his burns in hospital. The Coffs Harbour mother laid flowers and read tributes to her boy and those who died alongside him. On this darkest of days, New Zealand once again showing its true colours for a bond between nations which runs deep. Ruth Wynne-Williams, 9 News.
Live to Lizzie Pearl in Auckland this evening. Lizzie, what happens with the recovered bodies now?
Well, Mark, after those 6 bodies were returned to shore, they were placed in coffins, and that's when family and friends were given the opportunity to receive and farewell their loved ones. The coffins were then placed in hearses and driven in procession to the Auckland mortuary for formal identification. It's after this process that the families, the Australian families, will be able to begin to return home and start to plan their funerals.
Hi, lunch lady.
Lizzie, thank you. And the last of the Australian survivors are tonight on their way home. Lauren Tomasi is at Royal North Shore Hospital. Lauren, when will the victims arrive there?
Yeah, this was incredible footage.
Mark, the final 2 survivors of this volcano tragedy are expected to land here in Sydney at around 8 o'clock tonight. They are being transported on board a Life Flight air ambulance with a team of specialty crews, nurses and doctors. They'll be brought here to the Royal North Shore Hospital, where I can tell you tonight 2 people remain in a critical condition. A third is stable. At Concord Hospital, a further 5 people are being treated for their burns. 2 of those are critical, with burns to up to 65% of their body. Doctors say the rare and complex nature of these volcano burns is making treatment difficult. It's not only skin burned, but also the respiratory system.
You have patients enveloped by a moving cloud of hot, extremely hot gases and also volcanic material.
Many of these patients are now undergoing surgery, but doctors don't yet know the full extent of their injury. But Mark, tonight it is relief that these survivors are finally home.
Indeed. Lauren, thank you.
Oh, God, you guys. You can see why you want to just...
Got a cold? Get powerful relief of
follow
nasal
it
and sinus congestion due to colds or allergies.
Well, a somber anniversary now. A year ago today.
Oh my
Good evening.
goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. Okay, this was a survivor. Trigger warning. Can somebody type it in chat, please? No, I'll just do it right here. I forgot to do that. Hey, this one is somebody overcoming tragedy. It's 7 minutes long. Well, first, I want to try to find, here we go. This is 1 minute and 27 seconds long. These are the victims. Hi, Gramazon. boy's father, his 2 sons. He worked for the tours. They were from Australia, these 2. His teenage daughter, right there, she died up there, 15 years old. She died. All 3 of them. He worked on the tour thing. They said he died doing what he loved doing. He loved it up there. Yep, and that mother and daughter that you just saw. Oof. This is a scale of the burn injuries.
Thanks for being with us on Breakfast. Medical staff across the country are continuing to work around the clock to save the lives of those injured on Whakaari, White Island. Some of them are
Hi, don't mess with me at all. Hi, Demetrius.
deaths confirmed as a result of the
Hi, Arco Show.
As we know, a body recovery operation is underway. This morning, we're going to have more on that in a moment. As for the injured, well, much of what happens to us as people is familiar to nurses, doctors, and surgeons, but many of the
They
Whakaari
needed like
survivors
skin donated, you guys.
burns to significant amounts of their bodies with sulfur, and the
Skin
chemical
grafts.
composition of volcanic eruptions very impactful, of course. That means a huge amount of donated skin has to be brought into the country for
See
more of
that?
the challenges presented by
Listen to
what are
that.
unprecedented injuries for us here in New Zealand, along with how medical staff are coping. We're joined by Counties Manukau District Health Board's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Peter Watson. Dr. Watson, it's so nice to have you in the studio. Thank you. And I want to congratulate you on the work your team is doing, and in fact teams throughout the country are doing, right?
Yeah, I'd really like to acknowledge the incredible work our people are doing, but it's across the country. So the doctors and nurses and staff in Whakatane, but then they spread out across Tauranga, Waikato, the Hutt, Canterbury, and also Middlemore and Auckland Hospital for the initial response, which was just an amazing amount of effort put in. We've heard those stories, and now that work's continuing in our burns service, which is the 4 hospitals across New Zealand.
Right, and Middlemore is the national burns?
Middlemore hosts the National Burns Unit,
yep.
But the burns service
That's right,
comprises,
Aussie True Crime.
Christchurch,
Hi, Donna Clark.
and Waikato hospitals, and they're working together. It's an incredible coordination across the country. So I can give you an example. They are having teleconferences on a regular basis, reviewing the clinical state of every patient that they are looking after, ensuring that they're doing the right things at the right places, coordinating the care, allocating the resources. So it's an amazing amount of work being done, and they're really going the extra mile. And I just think New Zealand needs to be incredibly proud of the system we've got.
Yeah, it makes me feel proud listening to you. I don't want to dwell on the details because I don't think that's appropriate. But normally for burns, you would see fire, right? You would see boiling water or cooking burns or whatever. But these are very particular injuries because of the sulfur and because of the chemical composition of a volcanic eruption. And so all of a sudden, doctors, nurses, surgeons are confronted with something they may never have seen before, right?
That's right. So burn specialists, this is what they do, and they know how to treat burns, and they're incredibly skilled and experienced, as are the nursing staff and the other staff that are helping them. But this is a unique event in New Zealand. We have not experienced the volcanic eruption injuries, certainly on this scale. So for many people, this will be the first and only time that this experience has happened. But we've had a plan. We've planned for this. We've got a national plan that's been activated. It's the first time it's happened, which has brought us together with the skills we need to address it. But what it has meant is that many of our patients are extraordinarily unwell. They remain unwell, and they're requiring multiple trips to theatre, lots of support from our intensivists, and ongoing interventions. So this is around the
a skin donation. And when I first heard this, I thought, how do you donate skin? And I guess lots of people were thinking that, and lots of people were thinking that they might like to do it. But in fact, this is like organ donation, isn't it? So the skin is coming from people who have left it to us as part of their rather glorious and wonderful and generous estate.
That's exactly right. And firstly, I'd like to also just say thank you to so many New Zealanders who've come forward wanting to donate things, and people I think have also interpreted that potentially they could donate skin. Well, that's not true from live donors. So this is just like organ donation, where people are able to donate and families support that after their loved ones have passed. So there are banks of skin, and that's the skin that we're using, and that we're also being able to now access from Australia and the United States to aid in our treatment.
So you're accessing the skin from Australia and the United States. Have you got colleagues? Have you got surgical colleagues?
Like Truth Seeker.
Well, as I've said before, our surgeons and our anaesthetists and nursing staff are working so hard that we are looking now to how we can get support, and we've had offers from many, many countries. But we've got some colleagues who are actually arriving now from some burns surgeons are arriving from Australia. These are great people who luckily a couple of them have worked here before, so they've said we were coming anyway, we know you guys, and we've just welcomed them, and they'll be providing much needed relief, because this is going to go on. This is not just this week, this is not next week, this is going to go on and on for weeks and months for many of these people. So we need to plan for the future, so the people who've been putting in these extraordinary efforts among us can get a rest as well.
When cases go on for weeks and months, your surgeons, even though they understand the requirement to be as dispassionate as professionally appropriate, they must get invested in these cases, right? And it must be really, really hard. And so how are they coping?
And, personally, I recognise their expertise, but the psychosocial impact, the mental health impacts on the families and the people who are supporting and the treating staff is not to be underestimated. This is tough work. So we've got victim support in the hospitals. We've got psychologists and other mental health support available. It's also, as you know, available to anybody who's affected by this 24/7 from trained counsellors from our 1737 line and other ways that we are building mental health support across the country. But people need rest, they need support, and certainly we've been doing that. We've also been really blessed. People have been donating all sorts of things. So, for instance, we've had food being donated. People have phoned up and just asked, what they can do. And there's lots of stories of people coming to us to assist. And we've been very grateful and just so appreciative of the time and the effort and the willingness of people to do what they can.
Thank you for coming this morning, and we want to pay tribute, Dr. Peter Watson, Chief Medical Officer, to your nurses, your anaesthetists, your doctors, your surgeons, all of the staff who are doing such great work throughout the country and making a difference in this terrible situation. So, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Boy, oh boy.
It's tragic and awful to hear about what journeys that these victims are going to have to go through. A lifetime journey.
Yeah, it will be a lifetime journey for some people. But the skill, imagine the skill of giving people new skin and making it take and making it work and making a difference. It's remarkable work.
It is remarkable.
So we'd like to thank them and congratulate them and wish them well for the weeks and months ahead.
Oofda. Oofda.
Kia ora, good evening. Mission accomplished, but the search continues tonight to find two people still missing from the Whakaari White Island eruption.
6 bodies were successfully recovered during a dangerous operation by a crack team of specialist soldiers made up of 6 men and 2 women. The police dive squad's now scouring the waters around the island.
Dive squads.
These are the only images of their mission released today. Defence Force personnel in yellow protective suits with medical staff on boats nearby. The ground team worked in pairs to move the victims to a central location where an Air Force helicopter transported them to a Navy patrol boat a short distance from the island. We have extensive coverage.
Okay, this is almost over, Destiny.
And then I'll water from early this morning.
This one.
Poised and ready for a daring and dangerous rescue operation.
The reason we did this was absolutely to ensure that those loved ones were reunited.
Every single last one.
At first light, a specialist team began its planned assault on Whakaari White Island.
The conditions on the island were challenging, and they were challenging from the point of departure this morning.
This photo showing 2 of the team surrounded by a wasteland of ash.
They are operating with with a rebreathing apparatus, and the oxygen and the air inside that apparatus begins to heat up as they continue to breathe those breath cycles.
Their mission made more treacherous as hot ash and poisonous gas swirled around them. Every step monitored by the HMNZS Wellington and a team of GNS scientists.
There was a 6% chance in any 3-hour period that the volcano may erupt.
Here's what the recovery teams had to do on the island. Landing by boat, they had to make their way across the highly volatile crater floor in extremely hostile conditions. Police said they knew the 6 bodies were in an area around 200 square metres, grouped in clusters and no more than 300 metres from the shore. The success of this recovery operation relied on the conditions. In the past few days, the wind has been blowing the ash and dangerous gases away from the island. But today, a very different picture. The gas is settling right down where that recovery effort needed to happen. The team was made up of Defence Force bomb disposal experts, used to working in dangerous environments in heavy protective suits. The Prime Minister today thanking those who put their lives at risk.
They were humble people. They were true professionals, and that they carried out their role with dignity and respect for those who have been lost.
I'm proud of everyone from the NZDF who's been involved in allowing this to occur, but I'm also proud of the entire response that has enabled this to occur.
Police say they're not ruling out heading back to the island to gather more evidence.
And Sam joins us now live. Gathering more of that evidence, Sam, will be another challenging task. What more can you tell us about the recovery operation?
Yeah, like you saw in that story, that crack team of specialists were wearing those yellow hazmat-type suits with a full hood, breathing apparatus, and they were capable of staying on the island.
I would think so, but let me check.
Now, earlier this morning, as you saw, we were out there as that operation started.
I would think so, Destiny, but let me check,
we could smell the ash, and periodically acid rain would blow into our eyes and it would sting for certain seconds and then dissipate. But of course the operation is ongoing. As you've heard, 6 people have been recovered, but there's still 2 missing. Police will be hoping for more favourable conditions.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for that, Sam.
Yeah, they really gave it their all to get all the victims off there. Can you Google it, Destiny? Or, I mean, do you have time to, or I can Google it? Okay. And there's this one. Can you put a GoFundMe on your YouTube channel? I'm not sure.
One of the unique things about practicing medicine in Bellingham is there is a sense of community. Caring for friends and neighbors is a privilege.
I'm so sorry. Okay, here.
You can't tell your mum this happened. No. Man, look. Jeez. I don't know. Come on.
I think I confidently speak for all of the agencies who stand alongside us, Foreign Emergency, health officials, Defence Force and Mines Rescue. So we are all equally committed to finding a solution that safely gets us onto the island so that we can recover the people we believe to be deceased on that island.
Hi, Pittsburgh nurse.
Those people
Hi, Lisa Heath.
process to their whānau.
Minister, have you apologised to the families for the lack of transparency over the last few days?
What I have said to the families is that we need to do better in the way we communicate with them. And the families agree with that, and we're coming up with a plan with police to ensure that the communication meets the expectations of the family. And I have heard loud and clear that so far the communication has not met the expectations of the families, and we are rectifying that.
30 minutes before the eruption, Kaufman and Mora were on White Island following their guides. See, this is what the people.
100 degrees to well over 300. So it does get very hot.
See that? They're not the ones that got blown up, but
You'll notice there's an area where there's a bit of bubbling water. Please don't go too close to it because it is undercut. Not quite sure where it sort of ends up.
they were just there, and now they're on the boat filming.
Now, if you do get engulfed by the steam, it's basically turn your back to it. And if you need to, you can just crouch down.
I mean, they'd be dead. If they took the tour 30 minutes later, they'd be dead.
Iniciamos às 10, são quase 2 horas da tarde, iniciando aqui. É isso, agora partiu pro continente. É isso. Espero que tenham gostado. A gente se vê na próxima.
When they were heading back, that's when Kaufman captured the footage. See? Captain turned the boat around to help rescue people who were spotted on the rocks.
Pessoas na ilha ainda.
Okay, Pakistani Coast Guard, Phoenix, you copy? Can you just say what's happening down here?
Someone was floating in the water nearby there. The water's so green, isn't it?
Coisa mais louca da nossa vida acabou de acontecer. A gente passeou o vulcão 1 hora e pouco. 10 minutos depois que a gente deixou, entrou no barco. O vulcão entrou em erupção. O barco voltou, deu a volta na ilha, voltou para tentar ajudar as pessoas que estão aqui. Não sei se tem gente que, se todo mundo conseguiu sobreviver.
Mas tem pessoas no vulcão ainda.
E
caramba.
A gente vai ver o que vai acontecer aqui. Só espero que ninguém esteja machucado.
Yeah, Lisa, they do.
Graças a Deus a gente tá aqui, tá bem, mas a gente ainda tá no vulcão aqui tentando ajudar alguém. Depois eu mando a sequência.
Majorly erupted, gotta check. Get inside the boat before it then raced away from the site.
Man.
That's terrifying. You can't tell your mom this happened.
No. Dá mais 1 hora.
47 people were near the island when it erupted. 24 Australians, 9 US, 5 New Zealanders, 4 Germans.
Acknowledge the fact that a group of pilots and people operators from White Island Tours who went onto the island to recover those who were living in the immediate aftermath of the eruption have rightly deserved praise from New Zealanders and those abroad. And I met with some of those, not all of those operators, but some of those operators last night, and I listened to their stories, and I'm sure that the media is listening to some of those stories too. And they put themselves well out in the front of their own thoughts with regard to their own safety.
I think I can show this if I keep talking now and then and commentating.
They too went through a risk assessment. They might have not done it in a
That's what I was
way as
told.
we must, but they too went through a risk assessment in their own minds with regard to how long they could stay in that.
Sounds like a weekend in South Chicago. Well, they knew it was I see. The tourists even knew it was unsafe.
Here and elsewhere,
but not this
they're
unsafe.
Heroes. Your questions are going to be, will we recognise them as heroes? I'm very confident we'll do that in the fullness of time. In the meantime, we're working with that group of people, and we've asked for two of those people to work very closely with us as we develop the plan with regard to going on to White Island to recover the bodies.
Wow. Wow. Okay, this is helicopter footage of the destruction. It's only 2 minutes long. Remember, it was all, you guys got to look at how yellow and green and little flowers and plants were up there. Now look at it. Holy cow, you guys. Oh my gosh, Mark. Died in Chicago, then Afghanistan. Sounds like you live in Chicago. Be careful. I'm going to be on another 40 minutes. 45 till MAB Investigate starts, you guys. He's a real nice man from California with his wife, Mrs. MAB. Trying to get his channel up and going again. He's going to discuss the Malaysian flight, what was it, 750, 750, or 350? I can't remember now. The one that disappeared, you know? They think they found parts of the plane in the Indian Ocean, but he's got some incredible footage that hasn't really been seen. Can you imagine being hooked up to, when I had my stroke, I was hooked up to 16 pumps. And I only know that because I overheard a doctor saying it outside of my room in the hall one night. And those people are hooked up to, I don't even know what. Yeah, we'll have to find out the last time it really
How do fans make the most out of traveling?
erupted.
Cash backing.
Oh, I already showed that one. You know, then they had a lot of wind and whatnot, and they just couldn't go up there, those pilots, right away. Wow, this is the hero pilot who flew directly into Wakari.
Now I want to bring you an interview with Tom Story, a real Kiwi hero with that real Kiwi value of staying humble. He was one of the helicopter pilots who went out to the island yesterday, and along with his mates, he saved a lot of people, a hell of a lot of people. But tragically, he was not able to bring back the body of his mate, the tour guide, Hayden Marshall Inman.
Yes, I was just down the road, building a house down there, and one of our other pilots gave me a call just to say the volcano was pretty active, and I just kind of dropped the old tools and just booted it down here. Headed on out there, and I come across a guy there I recognise.
You knew it was a mate of yours? You knew it was Hayden somehow?
Yeah, he was in a pretty bad way. So I just pulled him out from where he was and made him as comfortable as I could. just so
Jesus.
he's there when we go back to get him.
Obviously, he was beyond help at that point.
Yeah. Beyond help. Yep.
And do you expect to go back and get him? Do you want to go back and get him?
Yeah, we would have loved to have gone back, but we were instructed not to go back out. So.
And does that gut you, knowing that your mate's there and you?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to take. You kind of want a bit of closure for the families and yourself. You never want to start a job and not finish it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get out there as soon as we can and recover him and the rest.
What was it like out there? So many Kiwis are wondering what it was like out there at that time.
Felt like running through talcum powder. Just a very fine dust, very hard to breathe. Actually extremely hard to breathe. Without a gas mask, you were gasping for air. You just do what you do. The old adrenaline takes over, and I'd rather break a few rules and save some lives than sit here wondering what we could have done.
The family have expressly thanked all of you guys, including yourself, for what you did. What does that mean to you to hear that?
You kind of wish we could have done more to get him back sooner. Myself and all the staff at CASeS just want to do our deepest condolences to the families of Hayden, as well as everyone else involved. I just did what I could do to make him as comfortable as he could be, and made sure we could get him out of there as soon as we can.
Wow. Can you imagine? I mean, not imagine, but can you... Helicopter pilot talks about being one of the first people on the scene at White Island tragedy. Did we hear this one already?
Well, it was a grim scene for the first responders involved in the rescue mission on White Island for CrImE. The volcano erupted on Monday afternoon, killing 6 people, with a further 8 people still missing on the island. One of the first responders on the scene was in Whakatane was helicopter pilot James Taylor, and he joins us now in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
When did you first hear about the eruption?
We got a call to the helicopter base at about 2:40, saying that there'd been an eruption and unknown number of casualties, and our 2 immediate response helicopters were required to get down there.
And what was the scene like at base?
Pretty organised. It's the sort of thing we do on a daily basis, really, is respond to emergencies. So it was our normal response to get the machines airborne as fast as possible and on the way to the job.
Now you didn't directly land on the island, but your 2 colleagues did.
Yes.
Did they explain to you what the scene was like?
They went to the airport first of all and had a bit of an assessment about what they had to do, because there was a requirement to get medical people onto the island. So they looked at what they thought was going to be the safest place to land, keeping away from any potential dangers before they went on. But
okay, no, not 40 minutes. It's 7:40. So.
And obviously, you've been transporting. You were involved in transporting some of the patients.
Yes.
What was the state of these patients like?
Can't give specific details, but as you can imagine, after an eruption like that, there were some significant injuries, burns, smoke inhalation, injuries from falling debris. So there were some fairly seriously injured people.
And the burns, were they steam and sulphur burns?
Hi, Christy.
Have you worked out that?
Don't really know the details of the burns, but we do know that some people were pretty badly burnt fairly early on.
What was the mental state of some of the victims?
By the time we came to transport them, they had already been treated by the medics, so they were sedated and in fairly serious conditions. So really, we didn't get any real interaction with them other than transporting them.
Do you think some people will still be in danger, those who are in critical condition now?
I imagine so, yes. I mean, if they're in critical condition, then the chances are they're going to need quite a lot of ongoing medical support before they pull through.
I imagine it's quite a traumatic experience for you as well. How are you today? Are you okay after that?
We're good, actually. We're part of a really close-knit team, so we support each other after an event like this, and we do have professional support available. But actually, I think the best thing is we sit down, talk to each other, and make sure we're all okay. It's the thing we do as part of our team.
Hi, Kiki.
You mentioned that you assessed whether it was safe enough to go to the island initially. Are you glad that you made that decision? And was there talk about not going?
I'm not aware of any discussion about not going. The pilots that were involved knew that they want to get medical personnel out there, and so had to balance the risk to themselves and their crews against the benefit of getting the medical people out there, and obviously the benefit outweighed the risk, and they went and did the job.
What about the recovery mission? In your opinion, as a helicopter pilot, would you want to go there and recover the bodies?
If it's safe to do so, absolutely. And it's something that the families are really going to need for closure to get the bodies. So I think as soon as it's safe to do so, people will be very keen to go and do that and help where they can.
We were obviously talking about the legalities around working in environments that are risky, and you as a Westpac helicopter pilot are involved in risks nearly every day. What is it like? Do you have to weigh up the risk involved in your call-outs every day?
Yes, every mission, part of the decision to go on the mission is we look at the risk involved, and most of the time with the equipment we've got, the training we've got, the risks are pretty low, but occasionally you do have to make decisions to increase those risk levels a bit if you think it's worth doing it for the benefit of the people you're going to help.
Thank you so much, and everybody that you have helped will be so grateful to you. Thank you very much, James Taylor from Westpac Helicopter.
Yeah, people who fly towards danger, right? Thanks, James.
You're a hero.
Yeah, really.
Not really.
No, you are.
Well, and typically understated in your assessment of the work you do, but it's really important and we're grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
So I just got the notification, Dolly Vision in 30 minutes, open Halloween panel. And Mab was going to start at 7 also. So I'm not sure if he's going to still do his or what.
Well, it was a grim scene.
Interruption, White Island's crater was churning and active. The minutes after, a 12,000 meter plume captured by New Zealand's volcano monitoring agency.
It was
almost like a throat clearing kind of eruption. On the scheme of things, for volcanic eruptions, it's not large, but if you are close to that, it is not good.
A minor burst made up mostly of steam, unlike the much larger deadly plume that erupted from Mount St. Helens nearly 40 years ago, or the continuous lava spewing from Hawaii's Kilauea. That's why experts say it was hard to read any warning signs, even though this volcano is never resting and every change is tracked. A flurry of activity last month raised the alert level from
Hi,
1
Debbie.
to 2 out of a possible 5. But that didn't halt any tours.
Each volcano has its own personality. They're distinct entities.
This volcanologist says predicting an eruption is a science that works half in the dark.
It's not often that you get to see underneath the bottom of a glacier.
Lynn Williams-Jones has peered into the mouths of volcanoes like British Columbia's Mount Meager, studying movement deep down that's often too subtle.
Those signals are very, very difficult to tease out from just background noise. So there's a lot of research that goes into trying to understand, is it building up or it's just breathing and it's doing its thing and everything's safe.
For White Island, it's a balancing act. This active volcano has been a tourist destination for decades.
If you're a tourist and you're visiting a natural setting like this, this is not Disneyland. This is a real world, things can change. Unfortunately, in this case, for the worse, without much warning.
As New Zealand grapples with the aftermath, its prime minister says tough questions will be debated later, whether tourists should still be allowed up to the edge of a capricious volcano. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Vancouver.
And the danger may not be over yet. The volcanic alert level for White Island is at level 3 right now. And New Zealand's geological agency says there's a chance of a smaller or even similar sized eruption in the next day or so.
Yeah. So when the pilots went in, you guys, to retrieve the bodies, they really were risking their lives. They really were. Okay. So this girl that I'm going to show next, I don't believe, don't quote me on it, her body has ever been recovered. They think it ended up out in the ocean somewhere. I'm pretty sure she wasn't recovered. She's a pretty blonde girl. I think she was 17. She was there with her family. Let's see. I think her mom and dad, I think the whole family perished. I think. But I remember this picture. It's 2 minutes.
Search crews in New Zealand fear they may never find the bodies of 2 victims still missing after the White Island volcano tragedy. Police believe Sydney teenager Winona Langford and local tour guide Hayden Marshall Immonen have been washed out to sea.
Hayden was found.
Operation hangs in the balance
Not
at the
sure if
mercy
she
of Mother
was.
Nature.
We haven't given up, but what I'm here to do is to signal to everybody that we've reached a phase where we are literally in the hands of the sea.
It's hoped the search for the remaining 2 victims can resume, but it's not known when. Recovery crews have been hampered by poor weather conditions, including heavy rain, ash, and toxic gas from the volcano.
The probability of an eruption over the next 24 hours is still estimated to be 20 to 40% over the area that would be in the crater floor effectively.
I hope what people have also seen is that no one wanted to see another loss of life as a consequence of that recovery process.
It's been 9 days since the eruption on White Island. Search teams have revealed they now strongly believe the bodies of Sydney teenager Winona Langford and local tour guide Hayden Marshall Inman have been washed out to sea.
All the data point at an unusually large mud flow occurring in the crater floor in the area where the still missing persons were last seen.
If a body in the bay reached the open sea off the coast and out of the bay, they would be taken in the direction of East Cape.
What we've tried to do is bring those loved ones back, but not risk losing anyone at the same time.
New Zealand police have completed the identification of 18 victims following the volcanic eruption.
18.
Authorities are focusing on supporting families who've lost loved ones now and in the months to come.
We are deeply sorry that we haven't until this time been able to return those bodies. It hurts us and it hurts our people and it hurts in everybody.
But Hayden was found, remember, by his mate
Katerina
that
Stefanovic
spoke earlier. Hayden Hayden's friend spoke earlier.
Search crews in New Zealand.
Now I want to bring you an interview.
I'm going to play this one.
A Hamilton man who gave first aid to some of those critically injured says he poured cold water over their severely burned bodies and kept talking to them to stop them falling unconscious as the tour boat made a desperate return to shore. Jeff Hopkins says steam, or a combination of steam and sulfuric acid, look to have caused horrific burns to many of the victims.
Oh, I know,
asked him
Pam.
where he
Thank
was
you.
at the time of the eruption.
We had finished our tour of the island, had returned to our boat, and were just having a little tour around some of the bays just a few hundred metres offshore when it erupted.
And when did you realise what was going on?
Not instantly. It was very quiet, but there was definitely an attention-grabbing moment from everybody on the boat that caught our attention. We turned around, and then we could see the eruption.
What could you see exactly?
So to start with, it was just a big, beautiful cloud that was rising, that was white and grey, and for a second it kind of just grabbed your attention, and then seconds after, this menacing rolling cloud of ash kind of just rolled over the cliff and sort of headed out and down to sea, at which point we were all ushered inside the cabin of the boat, and the boat took off pretty quick.
Did you realise that there were other people still there? Could you see them?
Couldn't see them at that point. You couldn't see as we got inside the boat and went back round the other side, you couldn't see the island at all. The island was just completely covered in falling ash.
So did your boat return to pick some of the people up?
Yeah, so we went back to where we had left, to where the other boat had been anchored, launched the inflatable, and the crew, at that stage the ash had cleared, and we could see clearly on the island there were some people in the water, and there were people down on the island, and the inflatable started picking people up and bringing them back to our boat.
And when those people came onto your boat, what could you see? What kind of injuries? How were they?
Couldn't see anything initially. We were still in the cabin, but then there was a call for doctors. We indicated we were first aiders. By the time maybe 2 or 3 people are on the boat, we went out to help, and pretty much everybody that was coming on were just with significant burns.
To all parts of their body, Jeff?
Mainly exposed skin. So people with t-shirts and shorts were arms and legs and faces. Exposed skin was probably the worst, but the more critical were burned through their clothing.
So I have seen a picture of a person who seems also to be covered in ash. Was that the case with some of the people you saw?
There was a lot of ash. I didn't see, there may be 1 or 2 that were quite grey over most of their body, but a lot of people had maybe on their face.
Hi, Turtle Gang. This is almost over.
There was a lot of ash about. And in fact,
Mad Investigates is going live at 7. And Jimmy. I don't know.
Everything. But yeah.
And I even talked to Mab on the phone.
That was moored, looked like it had been spray painted grey. It was just
a late flight.
You and the others on board try and do to help these people? What were you able to do?
So we just started to treat burns. So we were just we had a lot of fresh water on board, so we were able to use fresh water. We just called out for any containers that we could use, and we got people to start filling them up, just starting to pour cool fresh water over people's burns. More critical ones, we needed to remove clothing and wrap them up, and reassure people. And then as time went on, shock starts to set in, and so then it's about trying to keep people warm and really reassure them.
I understand paramedics joined your boat at some point. Is that correct?
Yeah, so then we left at some point after the. I was just busy treating people, so I'm not sure what the trigger was for us leaving, but we started heading back. About halfway back, we met a Coast Guard boat, put 2 paramedics on board, and they were able to assist, but not a lot you can really do. A bit of pain relief and just assessing people.
And were they able to administer pain relief?
The 2 people that I were with, we couldn't get a vein to get anything into them intravenously.
Oh, gosh.
No.
And Jeff, who were you with in terms of the people you were trying to help? Who were they?
So the couple, the American couple that have been on the news with their honeymoon, that was the 2 people that I was with.
That must have been shocking for you. Have you dealt with anything like this before?
No, nothing. Yeah, nothing like this at all.
And so their injuries, what were they like?
Critical burns. Yeah. Critical burns. Yeah. I mean, they were in and out of consciousness, so just really just trying to keep them alive until we could get them to shore.
And what were you doing for them? Pouring water on their bodies?
No, that's at that stage trying to keep them warm and keep them conscious. So just a lot of talking to them, a lot of reassuring, and just trying to keep them warm.
And were they able to respond to you, Jeff, when you spoke to them?
On and off, yeah.
Were there any children who were brought onto your boat?
No children on our boat.
Were you able to get a sense of where these people were when the eruption happened?
When we went on for our tour, we were split into 2 groups, and I think that's probably the norm. It's my impression that tour group that was still on the island was in 2 groups, and the people that we rescued were in the first group that had already been to the crater and were making their way back. So that's my impression, that these people were already on their way back towards the beach area, and they're the ones that we rescued. The ones that were unable to rescue, I believe, were probably closer to the crater at the time. And the second group.
Obviously, there were extensive burn injuries, but did you notice any others, traumatic injuries from rockfall or anything that?
No, my daughter treated someone with a head injury, but we believe that was from a fall. There was nothing to suggest anybody had been hit by anything.
That must have felt like the longest boat ride you've ever been on in your life.
It actually felt like the quickest one, I think, because we focused on what we were doing. And when you're focusing on what you're doing, at the time it just felt like it was hurry up. But when you're focused on just trying to keep someone, it feels like someone's life is dependent on you. Then you are focused. We suffer from a little bit of seasickness, but there was no seasickness on the way back. We didn't even really notice what the sea was doing. But it is a long journey back. Yeah, definitely.
When you left the island, could you see any others still there?
The tour boat from that second group that were on the island was still there. We left behind our inflatable with definitely, I think one of our crew, maybe others, maybe 2 of our crew stayed behind.
This is going to be
and
over
they came
pretty
back
soon.
on the second tour boat something like maybe half. I think they came back into Whakatane about half an hour after or something like that. I was in front of the boat, so I didn't see when we left. But yeah.
So Jeff, is it your impression that
3
some of the
more
crew
minutes.
members stayed back with one of those small boats to try and ferry others, if there were others, off the island?
Yeah, definitely. The small boats stayed behind with the one that was covered in ash. Yeah.
When the explosion happened, can you just tell me about what you could smell, and was the air any denser, or what was it like?
We were on the boat and very quickly ushered inside, so nothing to smell, and no issue at all with us breathing. We kept out of the ash. The ash as it engulfed the island, and it did completely engulf the island. Yeah, dark while we were in the shadow of that ash cloud, but there was nothing. And then when we were ferrying people onto the boat, the ash had fallen by then. We weren't in the direction of anything that was still steaming from the crater, so there was it was quite safe for us as far as gas or anything falling.
Jeff, did you get the impression that the burns that people suffered were from steam or from hot ash sticking to people?
I originally thought it was hot ash, but I'm not sure what it was that caused the burn, but potentially steam, or I'm not even sure if there's an acid element to it. I don't know. People were burnt underneath their clothing, and their clothing looked fine. You'd lift someone's shirt, and the shirt was in perfect condition, but there would be terrible burns underneath it.
Oh my gosh, that's weird, you guys.
Yeah, potentially, yes, steam. I don't thought it was steam.
What happened when you got to shore?
Can you imagine?
As soon as we got to shore, very quickly we were met with a lot of ambulances, policemen, firefighters, and as soon as we were at shore, very quick assessment of who was critical. We'd already kind of made that decision ourselves on the boat with the paramedics that we had with them, who we had critical, and we'd already had a plan of who was going to come off first. So that happened quite quickly. We were able to just put bands on people. Their names were recorded. They were put onto boards and lifted off and straight into ambulances.
Thank you so much for talking to us. I really appreciate your time and your service for helping those people. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. Let me turn this off. Oh,
meanwhile, incredible.
Gosh, okay. You guys, I guess I'll head over to Dolly Visions, see if Mab is in the chat. I wanted to support him too. I might do more after, but maybe not if Mab goes live after Dolly. Thank you for being here. Hit the like, subscribe if you'd like to. I made it over 900. I'm like 910 or 909. Or thanks to all of you. I love you. Thanks for coming to PCT is Extreme. Bye-bye. Love you guys.